the MYAS has been something that we are very proud of. Our organization, the U.S. Council for Athletes Health, has a mission to assist any organization to make certain that healthcare and safety is a priority for their stakeholders, including your organization. And commend you, our representative and Vice President Craig Perry, and your organization, along with the other groups, in putting together what is an outstanding manual that, as you know, our council and folks have reviewed. As you mentioned, our council has over 200 years of collective experience in doing this sort of programming. We're the official athletic healthcare partner with the National Junior Collegiate Athletic Association, the NAIA, and are assisting the NAIA with all of their return to participation and championship programming this winter and spring, and have worked with over 100 NCAA institutions and major conferences, including, as you mentioned, the Big Ten Conference, the Pac-12, and many Division II conferences as they are setting up their championships and moving forward. So this relationship for us has been something, as you know, has been really important, because we believe that it's really important for youth athletes to be able to return to sport, and they can do so safely. We've provided, I think, along with your guidance, some great recommendations here, and I would just reinforce what Dr. Tsai just said. The things that we have recommended is that you think about masking. Make certain that you're paying attention to masking when you're in these facilities. We know that athletes are safe when those around them are safe, and so masking and the behavior modification is really important. The manual does a great job outlining the steps that need to be taken around trying to prevent overcrowding, as Dr. Tsai mentioned, but also making certain that you practice good hygiene and that you remain as much as you can physically distanced from individuals from other groups or teams. If you can follow these steps, and if you can make certain that you're committed to that, these events and tournaments can happen safely, and the participants can have a great experience. And we are committed to helping you do that. I really want to commend the MYAS. I can't tell you how many organizations we've worked with, but how committed your organization has been to overall health and safety, to reassure your constituents that you've overturned every stone as far as we're concerned in looking at this, and providing just an outstanding opportunity for these young athletes to be able to participate during this time. So certainly our congratulations to you to getting to this point, but also for being committed to getting to this point. And just know to all your constituents, as I think you would, I hope, say all along, we are here. We're here to support your organization. We're here to make certain that you can put on great events across the state. And so thank you for the opportunity, and best of luck to all of you. We know that this can happen and can be a success for all of your participants.
Thank you, Dr. Jim. And I think we can put, or Craig can maybe put his email, Craig's email, on the chat. If anybody has specific questions related to overall administration of something specific within your venue, I think that the council would be happy to discuss that. So Craig, do you want to, thank you again, Dr. Jim. Craig, do you want to come on and just speak for just a minute on the manual and things like that?
Yeah, I will. Thanks, Dawson. And I'll just piggyback on a little bit of what Dr. Jim had mentioned, is that we're really happy to partner. I will, after I'm done speaking here, put my contact information in, Dawson, and just know if you have questions about your facilities, or you have things with staffing, or a question about anything as you're running your great state events at your facilities, we're here to help you, and reach out to us. The great state manual that has been completed, you'll notice, is very familiar to the return to participation guidelines that we were able to put together for our healthy and safe launch for early January. The documents really are focused on easy steps, as you heard Dr. Borchers mention, of how to maintain that safe environment. And some of you know this, I've been in event management for over 30 years, and some of the toughest conversations you can have when you're hosting an event is to walk over and ask somebody to change their behavior. That's put your mask back on, sometimes a second time or a third time. And so that's never an easy thing to do. So what I would make sure is that at your sites, you have dedicated somebody that will be the carrying forward of that CCM from the regular season, that COVID care manager. Have someone on site that is going to be the person that can walk over and say, we really need you to mask up so that we can continue to play. And you heard Dr. Borchers mention that it's the environment around the athletes. If you can do everything you can to make it safe, then you're going to be able to have successful weekend tournaments. I looked at the numbers. It looks like 7,200 the first weekend, Dawson, probably at 10 different sites. And so the documents that we'll be sharing with you have some site management items for you, step-by-step things to follow. And much of it's very familiar to the practices that you use to get to this point. But just know that as I worked with Dawson and others to put these final documents together, I simply had this question: what do we need to have in this document to help the sites have as safe and healthy participation as possible? And so I think that's what you have. And we also, you'll notice at the very end, we maintained the full reporting procedure. So if you do have a positive case or something that happens at one of your events, it's in the manual. And I want to commend Dawson and his staff, because the idea of having the virtual toolbox, the COVID toolbox, and the end product is just a great tool for all of you. So everything you need is in the toolbox. And again, we're here to support you through the 4 weekends of tournaments that will begin at the end of the month. Anything else, Dawson?
No, I think that's great. Thank you very much, Craig, for being on and all your effort and work and partnership with everything. You're almost like an extension of the MYAS staff, so we appreciate that. All right, I'm just going to highlight. I know that Eric passed along the manual, and I know all of you said, wow, that's a lot of words. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it. I wanted to highlight just a few things. And please know that what we tried to do is put everything into one place. We understand that the participating teams may not read all of this, but we're going to take out pieces of it, and we're going to make sure to disseminate that information out in different ways in the week leading up to the tournament or weeks leading up to the tournament. You'll hear from Lance Klinkhammer shortly, and he'll talk about stuff specifically for your location and what we're going to do with some special instructions for your locations. These are all just general, and it's all stuff things that we've learned, things we've gotten from the MDH, things that we've gotten from the council, other things that we have found that are best practices from some of the task force members that were on the early adoption of our return to participation guide. But we kind of all laid it out into a spot where we can then everybody can turn to and look at. So I just want to encourage you a couple things on page 11, if I can get there. This stuff right here at the bottom of the page, we laid out because obviously this year is a little bit different than a typical year, where typically the hosts of grade state are the ones that are responsible to have somebody at the score table, along with doing some other things at admissions and things like that. And you all understand that with contactless admissions and the ability to try to get as many people as spectators in, that we can reduce another person from doing duties at the score table. And then we have a scorekeeper from each team that will be responsible for that. So Jeremy Innes is going to go through these main things that we had brought up. You all know that MYS sends a external representative that is representing MYS and that will do all the duties related to the directing. And then we have other things laid out that Jeremy will go through, so you understand what these definitions are and what these are that we feel are very important, that we want you to put in place for the jobs and the descriptions of the people that will be helping you go through the tournament. So the other thing, the other things that, that I just wanted to share too are, it's basically on pages 13 through 16 are the main things that we would like you to look through. These are the things, and again, Jeremy will go through this stuff in detail, but these are the things with the entrances, having door ushers there, like Craig said, having somebody that's willing to have those conversations about, okay, we can't have congregating next to the entrance. Everybody go back into the parking lot, go back to your vehicles. Eric and I were talking about that today, that if our buddy Jonathan Uhas is correct, by the time we get to early March and even the last or the 13th, 14th of March, it may be in the 50s or 60s. And so we know that people are going to be more willing to stand outside. And so that is where the issues arise. And I'm assuming that a lot of your community ed directors or your districts have all told you we can't have congregating at the entrance. And I think that's a really big thing that we want to make sure that we can take care of. So we have somebody out there that is assisting in that process and directing people, because literally the only people that we want inside to go to the team check-in that the host will man is the head coach or the team manager, and then they will get checked in with the tournament director. And then we would ask that they would have a spot inside the entrance that they can sit and wait, just the head coach, so they can notify via text or an app the rest of the people on their team on when they can enter. And Jeremy will again go through that process. But again, I think if nothing else, please go through pages 13 through 16. It lays out the contactless admissions and what we're doing, what we're doing with the wristbands for each weekend. That'll be specific to with the grade state logo, and there will be a color for each weekend that we have established. So again, I just encourage you to kind of go through that process. The other thing to keep in mind for some of you that are returning host is we are going to maintain the conduct first environment. And what that means is we will simply, again, have reminders out there. We haven't had as many issues this year because people can't yell as loud. There's less people in the facility. So we're not having as many issues with conduct, which is awesome. And I wish we would have gotten a whole bunch of new officials in the house this winter so they could get through a season without having to deal with that other stuff. But with that being said, we still want to award teams that are doing it the right way related to conduct, sportsmanship, and we added in the other piece with our partners at Youth First about COVID compliance. So the officials will hand out, again, the business cards at the beginning of the game that talks about it's all about the kids, respect the game and the officials, and that kind of thing. And then at the end of the game, they will circle yes or no on the score sheet. So our hope is that if you have host representatives that are helping you and they're assisting the tournament director and going to pick up score sheets, to make sure that the officials sign that and to make sure that they circle yes or no at the completion, because we know we can't have a in-person event, but we will do everything we can to have a virtual event for the teams so they can be recognized outside of simply winning or losing the game, that they're doing other things to provide a safe, positive, productive environment within grade state. So again, read through that. If you have questions, let us know, but I will now turn it over to Jeremy, and Jeremy will kind of go through specific details related to the duties and responsibilities that we've kind of laid out there.
Thanks, Das, and big thanks to all you hosts as well. We realize we're in the middle of a pandemic still, and for you guys rounding up the troops and being able to host for us, we're greatly appreciative for that, and that'll go a long way in future years when we're assigning host sites. So thank you very much. So let's get to it. Roles and responsibilities for the tournament staff. We are going to send a tournament director. They're going to be the MYAS on-site representative and basically handle all of the competition aspects of the events. Making sure the officials are there and updating scores online, figuring out who's going to get the awards later on Sunday. And as I mentioned there, the last bullet point, they'll deliver the awards to the court monitors on each court on Sunday. And then we're going to ask that the court monitors hand those to the teams. To keep in line with making sure that we get people to exit the building as soon as possible, as soon as their games are completed. We do want to politely discourage any team pictures afterwards or team meetings after the games, and just politely ask the teams to move to the exits. And also our tournament director is going to have a phone number for our full-time staff, most likely directly to Eric throughout the weekend. So anything that does come up, they'll be able to get a hold of Eric. Host supervisor. And if you see here, I listed all the roles and then the number of people that we want to fill those roles. We also indicated whether that person is provided by the host group or the MYAS staff. So our host supervisor, that's one person, basically the lead from the host side. The person that's going to make sure that all of the duties outlined here and within the contract are fulfilled by the host group and the rest of their staff. Host representatives for team check-in. There we need 2 people provided by the host group. We only need that staff on Saturday because that's the day that we're going to be collecting the host fee and distributing the wristbands to the coach. It's listed as gate fee, but we're actually referring to it as the host fee. That is the $215 payment that each coach or each team is responsible for submitting at team check-in. I'll touch a little bit more on the details of that as we move down this document. But rest assured that just to keep it simple, no teams have sent in their host fee to us. No associations, no individuals have paid that up front. One of the reasons why we're doing it this way is so that there's not anybody that can show up at the tournament and say, my director already submitted that, or we paid that already. That's not going to be the case. And all this stuff too, we will make sure that we get all this information out to the coaches and the spectators to make sure that none of this is a surprise when they arrive for the tournament. Scrolling on down to door monitors, we need 2 people at the entrance and 1 person at the exit. This is also provided by the host group. The door monitors at the entrance are going to make sure that everybody has a wristband. And when we say everybody, we're referring to non-player. To exit the building that they must have a wristband. We do want 1 person at the exit door because if you've seen in all the materials, we do want to have a certain set of doors identified as the entrance and then some other doors identified as the exit. So we don't have that cross traffic within the facilities, which has been very common throughout the winter season to this point. But we do want 1 person staffing that exit door for 2 reasons. Number 1, making sure that people are not entering through that door. And number 2, so then they can point them to the right direction to find that entrance door. And then both of those roles, we'll need those for both days, both Saturday and Sunday. Scrolling down to court monitors, we want 1 court monitor per court. I'm going to go through the responsibilities. It might seem like they have a lot of stuff to do, and they do, but timing wise, things should work out pretty well for them. There's just different times throughout the game and the schedule that'll work well to handle each of these responsibilities listed here. Our court monitors, they're going to ensure that each team is providing somebody to do operate the scoreboard and complete the official score sheet. As Dawson mentioned, this is something that we've added this year to basically allow 1 more person from each team to be in the facility. It also takes, maybe another person from the host group, limits the amount of exposure from their staff as well. But this is right on the rules. It'll be communicated like crazy pre-event to all the coaches and team managers.
I would just like to know that the court monitors in between that transition when people are new teams are coming in, and you probably have been at some tournaments, is I would strongly encourage them as they complete the process of the sanitizing or anything like that to ask the coach about where the scorekeepers are, so you guys they can maybe help establish who is going to do the clock. And if there's any kind of quick tutorial that needs to be done, that can be done up front instead of waiting until after game time and then getting it taken care of. And then we're 5 or 10 minutes behind schedule. So if you can maybe have that court monitor assist in that process too, that would be awesome.
That is a very good point, Dawson. We are on a fairly tight schedule. We did add in some additional time when there is going to be a transition, when we're having teams leave and the new group come in. We did build that in there, but the more proactive we can be, the better. The court monitors, they're also going to notify the door ushers when there's 2 minutes left in the game. And I'll go through kind of how that process is going to work in a little bit. The court monitors too, we want to remind people to wear their mask or their face covering properly. On Sunday, they are going to give the awards to the coaches. The tournament director will deliver them to the court. And if it's a championship game and we're awarding first and second place, we'll instruct our tournament directors to put a note right on that box of trophies or medals, saying winner and loser. One of the changes that we made for this year is that we are awarding first, second, third, and consolation. In past years, we've awarded first, second, third, and fourth. So our third place game, we're only going to want to give the awards to the winner of that game. And we've also got a consolation game identified on the bracket as well. And the winner of that game will get the consolation awards. The tournament director will handle all of that and make sure that the awards are getting to the proper team. Once the games are completed, we want our court monitors to politely direct everyone to the exits. As I mentioned before, we don't want to see any, posing for team pictures, or any post-game meetings. Just be as polite as you can, and maybe just remind them that we got other teams that need to take the court in a tight schedule. Then we want our court monitors to sanitize in between the games as well. All chairs and benches and the scoreboard control panel are two of the main things. Then we come to a floater. If you've got the extra people, that would be great if they could, assist in the different areas. One thing that would be really nice to have is if you've got people that can kind of go back and forth from maybe communicating with the court monitors to the people at the door and letting them know, maybe 2 minutes left on court 7. And then we can start that whole process. But the more people, the better. And actually running through all the different roles and responsibilities, most likely you're going to need less people to fill all these roles this year than the staff that you had on site in previous years with no concessions, with no selling of apparel. We've got the court monitors on each court, but we also don't have the requirement that the host provides somebody to do the clock. So it kind of balances out, and at the end of the day, it might even be a few people less for you.
Jeremy, can you touch on the fact that what you just got done talking about, you actually did, and just let them know what you thought of it, what you just talked. You've actually physically done this year.
Yep. So my daughter plays for Centennial Traveling Basketball Association, and my volunteer shift fulfillment was as a court monitor. So once I got to the court, at that time the games were already going on, but I was instructed to keep my eyes open, make sure that everybody's got their mask on, politely remind the coaches if their players are wearing those masks around their chin. If there's anybody in the stands, same thing, politely remind them. And the flow really worked out pretty well. There's 2 minutes left in the game. So at that time, I notified the people at the door. There's 2 minutes left and they can start that whole process. Game got over, told the coaches, a good game. And asked if if they weren't playing the game, right away, just asked them to hit the exits, round up all their parents, thank you, and try to get them moving as soon as possible. As soon as they stood up, I was spraying the sanitizer on the chairs and wiping them down. That next group came in, and I was making sure that they had somebody do at that tournament, we just required one of the teams to do the score sheet, but making sure they had that person ready to go And also, you know, another thing to be proactive about is to have those court monitors, you know, maybe with that score sheet that's sitting there, remind the coaches that to fill out that official game score sheet. So once the warm-up time buzzer goes off, that's already completed and ready to go. So we're not scrambling, trying to fill out that score sheet. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff listed on there, but it's kind of really segmented throughout the process and flows pretty well. All right, so here's our team check-in / team entry process. We're instructing all the coaches to arrive 20 to 30 minutes prior to their first game. What they're gonna do is, and it's just gonna be one coach per team or team representative that we want entering the facility to complete the team check-in process. And they're gonna be meeting with the team check-in personnel first. So we're gonna have 2 tables kind of right inside that main entrance. One table is gonna be staffed by the host group with their 2 people there that are gonna be you know, collecting the host fee and also handing out the wristbands. We are gonna provide a document that our tournament director will bring to the site. Our tournament director will also be bringing the wristbands for all the teams. But that document will have all the teams broken down by division, and there'll be some columns there where your staff can check off, you know, if they receive the host fee, they can put a check mark next to the team name, and also check off that they gave them the wristbands. So once that's completed by your people at the first check-in table, then we want, and oh, one thing to mention before I forget is that those checks for that host fee, those are made payable to your organization. Make sure that the people at that station realize that that's the case. We don't want checks made out to MYAS, not Grade State. We want them made out to your organization. That's the portion that you guys get to keep this year in lieu of the individual spectator fees. So then once we hand them the 16 wristbands, I know we've got a couple locations that we need to reduce that number a little bit. Make sure you let us know that ahead of time, and we'll make sure we relay that information to the actual team. But how that 16 number is broken down is that the wristbands are given to 3 coaches, 1 scorekeeper, and then 12 spectators. So that's how we get to the 16. All of the wristbands are the same. We don't have a different one for the coaches, a different one for the spectators. They'll all be the same color. So then once that process is completed, you've collected the host fee, you've given out the wristbands, then we want you to send them over to our tournament director. Every year we give the coaches a gift. It'll most likely be a scorebook again this year. And then our tournament director can also relay any pertinent information as well. We might have some coupons from our sponsors to hand out to those coaches that they can relate to the rest of their team as well. So then what we are going to instruct the coach or the team representative to do is take those wristbands, bring them outside to give to somebody to hand them out to the rest of their team personnel, including their fans, other coaches, and the scorekeeper. We want all that done before we call them into the facility, because the rest of the people that are coming in, beyond those coaches doing their check-in, we want everybody to have a wristband. That's the plan. If your facility, if we want to set that up in a different way, let us know ahead of time and we can put some different notes in there for your facility. But that's the main set of guidance that we're going to throw out there. So that coach, host fee, gets their wristbands, sees our tournament director, brings the wristbands out, gives them to somebody that can distribute them to the rest of their team. Then we want that coach to come back into the facility and hang out near the check-in area. We want to distance everybody as much as possible, but we want to keep them in there close to the check-in area, because once we get that notification from the court monitor that they've got 2 minutes left in the game, then we're gonna, you know, announce to the room of coaches that, you know, we're gonna say, if you're playing on court 3, and it'd be ideal if we had the actual team names at that point too, we can let them know that they can start calling in the rest of their team. What most teams are doing these days, they've just got a group text chain, or they're using an app to communicate that to everybody. So once we're 2 minutes left in the game, the court monitor will relay that to the people up front, most likely our door monitors, and then they'll announce that to the coaches that they can gather up their team, they can come to the door, and we'll get them into the facility. Timing wise, that seems to work out pretty well. You know, in the rare occurrence that we do have an overtime game, we might maybe need to stage them in the hallway if we can, or find somewhere for them to hang out just for that short period of time. And that's why, again, our court monitors, we really need them to, in a very polite way, remind people that as soon as their game's done, we need them to move to the exits. With all this information, we're going to be as proactive as possible. Make sure we get all this information, sent out. We're not only going to send it to the coaches, but we're also going to send it to all of the parents of the players as well. We've got their email addresses on the roster. So we will do all that we can to make sure that people are as informed as possible. So when the rest of the group is coming into the building, we do want those door monitors to verify that everybody has a wristband. Every non-player will need a wristband into the building. I saw it was brought up in the chat too, but also the officials will not need a wristband, but they're pretty identifiable. For most of our locations, we were able to, with all the teams playing on Saturday, we were able to have those teams come in, play 2 games back to back, and then they leave. There's some facilities where we weren't able to hold that pattern all the way through Saturday, but that just makes things so much easier for everybody if we're able to set it up that way. If you are at a facility, which typically are facilities with 5 courts, if we're using all 5 courts, they might have some teams that have a gap in between their games. If you have a staging area, let us know so we can communicate that to the teams. So if they play at, you know, say 1 o'clock, and then they've got the 2:10 time slot off, and they come back at a 3:20 or something like that. If we have to tell them to leave the building, we will. But if you do have a staging area, let us know, like I said, and we can relay that to the teams. Dawson, Lance, anything that I forgot about there? We want to reiterate it all?
Yeah, why don't you stop sharing your screen, and then we can have Lance just talk about it. So that I know that Jeremy mentioned it a few different times about if there are special instructions for your specific location, we need to gather that. And so Lance has been the designated staff member that is going to be collecting all of that. And I will, as he's speaking, I'll share with you an example of what we are going to do in this thing that we're calling the Grade State Fan Guide, which has a collection of basically special instructions that Lance will go through. And then we also have other things inside of it. So it's, again, collection of everything in one spot for everybody. So Lance, go ahead. I'll get this up here.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for your time. I'll make it as brief as possible, but all you need to know is that I'll be sending you email with some questions that are specific to your facilities. Those things cover the number of spectators. That the standard number there is 12, but we certainly want to confirm and make sure that there's no difference relative to your facility restrictions or policies that are in place. In addition to that, specific instructions regarding the entrance and exit side of things. That'll involve, like Dawson's showing right now, the top view map that show the specific place to enter. If possible, if you have door numbers, letters, I'll include all this in the email that I send you with the questions. But as much information as you can provide there for us, we're going to turn that around and put it in this fan guide. Obviously, we trust you guys to do your job. We're confident in doing our job, but the wild card there is probably the spectators. So we want to make sure that everybody has as much information as possible. So when they show up, they're not confused or all congregating at the front entrance. So we'll make sure that we're very strong with whatever those instructions are. As Jeremy touched on in regard to staging areas, in some cases, and we're going to review the schedules, we already kind of have to some extent, but we're going to isolate the facilities that actually have game breaks tied into the schedule. And then from there, we'll ask you guys if you have a staging area that those teams can stand in, sit in during their time off, or if it's necessary for them to leave between games, which is totally fine one way or the other. It's just a matter of instructing people and making sure things go as smooth as possible. In addition to that fan guide, we're also collecting this information on what is a large grid, if you will, which offers a 10,000-foot view of every facility with that same static information listing number of coaches allowed, number of scorekeepers, spectators, when teams are allowed entry, when spectators are allowed entry. Right now, that's just a standard upon coach notification. So all of this is designed, again, to make sure that the flow of spectators and people coming in the buildings and exiting the buildings is as easy as possible prior to when people show up on site. So just watch out for an email from me with all those questions. And if you have any questions for me or clarification needed, obviously reach out, let me know. But again, all this is designed to kind of make things as easy as possible on everybody. So we're happy to put this info together. And all we ask is that you respond to us with as much specific information as you can, and we'll put that in place where it needs to be.
All right, thank you very much, Lance. Eric or Rich, do you want to touch on the potential locations that may have situations where a game on, game off? Because we've tried to, as much as possible, to have back-to-back scenarios, at least on Saturday. But can you talk about that really quick?
Yeah, for the first 2 weekends, any odd number of courts more than likely are going to run in that situation. Anything that's even 4, 6, 8. To my knowledge, Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, there should be no situations like that. But if you have a 5-court facility, especially these first 2 weekends, you're going to run into that situation. The third weekend, we might tweak a little bit, so we might not run into that due to the numbers and what we have for that third weekend. Rich, anything you want to add there?
No, that's exactly it. Every 5-court facility, it's almost impossible not to have somebody have a break in the schedule. So we try to limit it as much as possible, but there will be teams here and there throughout the day that will play a game, and instead of playing back to back, they'll sit for at least one game and come back and play their second game.
So we would strongly encourage you, if it works out, to have a staging area for those teams. If you don't have anything, or your district or community ed do not want you to do that, then simply we just need to have them leave the building, and then they can come back in, after that game break. As an example, our friends at St. Michael Albertville, they've done a great job where they have the space available where they can direct people into their lunchroom area. And they've had actually taped off areas or staging areas for each team that they can then have before they send people down. And then they also have a separate entrance for the spectators as well. And that's worked out well. Now they have the available space, and we understand that it's different in each situation. But so you just need to, again, work with Lance on what that is. If you are a location that has 5 courts that you're using, we're going to get you those game times of when it would be game on, game off. And then you just need to let us know if you're going to have a staging area for those teams, or if you simply are just going to want them directed outside of the facility. All right, Eric, why don't we go into Buddy? I forgot to bring up Buddy. Buddy Hemrick is on. He's been on MYAS staff since 1995, and he actually, as of next month, will be retiring. So this is his last grade state tournament. But Buddy or Jeff Stottlemyre, do you guys want to speak on the officials portion?
Buddy, go ahead. Not there?
Maybe not.
Okay. Basically, I want everyone to know that the referees are not going to be your COVID police. And I do want you to know or understand that not all referees are high school certified. So by that, I mean, some of these guys that are out there is what I call weekend warriors. They're just refereeing for you know what. And they probably don't know all the rules. And one of the rules the State High School League has it implemented this year as far as we officials, when if a player is not wearing their mask, we talk to them and ask them to please keep your mask on. If they don't do it a second time, that's when we give them a warning, right, Dawson?
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, it's encouraging them, and then asking the coach to assist in that process. And if they don't want to follow through on that, then you just send them to the bench.
Yep. So you're going to have some referees doing that. Some referees probably don't know that. Now, we as signers will do everything in our power to let the referees know that. So hopefully it doesn't become an issue, but I just wanted to let everyone know that not all referees are high school certified, and we will do the best we can.
Yep.
And I think Buddy might be back on. Is he?
He's not. Yeah, I mean, I would just say that, the other thing is having those court monitors work with the officials on that part of it. Because there is a supply and demand issue for sure right now. Toby, who's a fellow official, I officiate too. There are a lot of people that have chosen not to officiate this winter. And so with all the different events going on still, on top of our grade state tournaments, we are just going to have to deal with some of the people that we get there and work with them because they may not be perfect, but we're going to work the games, and we're going to at least have some people on the court.
Some of the officials, I'm sorry, Dawson, go ahead.
Yep. No, go ahead.
Some of the officials will probably approach a parent that's not wearing a mask and politely tell them to put the mask on, but then there might be some officials that'll approach the court monitor and ask the court monitor to take care of it. So again, we will do the best we can to communicate to the referees what they need to do.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Eric, you wanna bring it back here? We're probably close to finishing up.
Yeah, I'm just going to wrap up. The few things I want to say again is thank you very much. If you're wondering about the March 6th and 7th schedules, well, they are complete. We are still looking for 5 more courts that weekend, so that's why that stuff is not posted online. We do have some leads as of right now that people are looking into that, so hopefully that'll be put to bed tomorrow. And honestly, I'm really confident. I mean, this is a lot of this stuff. It's a lot of information, but with the back to play, since everyone's back up and running, this is kind of old hat. A lot of stuff isn't brand new. What teams have been doing. My son plays traveling basketball for Spring Lake Park, and this is exactly what we've been doing in all the tournaments he's been playing at. So in my opinion, I feel that this should be a smooth process, and there is a lot of documentation out there. We've got a lot of veteran hosts on here. So in my opinion, I do not see this not happening without a hiccup, in my personal opinion. And again, thank you for all your time. Thank you for all your effort. If you have questions, and make sure to reach out to myself, Jeremy, Rich, Dawson. Any of us are more than willing to help you. And again, just thank you for your time. And, Grade State's back for 2021. So that's exciting.
Does anybody have any a general comment or question that they'd like to bring up right now?
Let's have fun.
Dawson, I do. Just for everyone who's on the phone who's hosting these games, thanks, as MYAS is saying, but truly, when we've hosted tournaments earlier this year with the gate fees or the host fees, some of these teams play ignorant, like they don't know. And I know MYAS is going to communicate, but my suggestion is they don't get in the gym unless they pay that fee. So if the coach doesn't have a check, a parent's going to have a check. Someone's going to have to figure that out before that game's played, or we're going to be in trouble. Otherwise, those of us who are doing this for fundraisers aren't going to get their fundraising. So that'd be my vote to everybody. Just stand tight on it. The communication has happened. They shouldn't be able to get mad at you. They should be able to get mad at themselves.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jim. Our our tournament directors that are on site will also back up your crew on that point too. If you're able to take credit card payments, you know, that would be great to have available too, to make it that much easier for them. It might be something too, if you get a hold of Eric or one of our staff or the tournament director, get a hold of one of us, we might be able to take a credit card payment and then get those funds back to you guys. But just to give them any opportunity to submit that payment, more options.
All right, everybody, do not hesitate to send questions, comments, concerns, and make sure that you respond to Mr. Lance Klinkhammer when he sends an email off to you, because he wants to make sure that everybody understands what they need to do when they arrive to your facility, because we want to make sure that that is first and foremost the biggest thing. Obviously, again, people are going to only read what they read, and we're going to try to get it in front of their face as best as we can prior to the event. And that's why we're going to take pieces of all the stuff that we've created to make sure that we can get those impressions out there so people can actually look at it, the stuff that we've put together. So again, thank you for your time and dedication to youth basketball. Thanks for being a valued host, and we will see you all soon. Have a great night.
Thanks, Dustin. You too.
Thank you.